Very cool. I like the bagpipes. Hi, Todd Tappe here with another episode of Cigar Ops. With me is my good friend Aldo Torrego. Hey, Aldo.
Good evening, sir.
I recently complained to you that a lot of bad things have happened to a lot of good people this past year and last year. And what was it you responded?
I said if you're going to talk about hard luck stories, the conversation has to include Hugh Glass, an American frontiersman of Scottish roots born in 1783.
Based on your professional attire, little Indiana Jones, the mini lectern, and the Hugh Glass book in front of you, I'd say those goings-on will include a history lecture on Hugh Glass. Am I right, Aldo?
Professor Aldo.
Okay, so if Hugh Glass was a cigar smoker on the frontier around the beginnings of the 19th century, he would have enjoyed cheroots. He did smoke cigars, right?
We wouldn't be talking about him if he didn't.
And that's why we're also reviewing the legendary cheroot tonight.
I always thought those are just hard, dry sticks of tobacco.
There are probably more misunderstandings about cheroots than any other type of cigar. A lot of people think the term cheroot is just a general synonym for cigar. It's not. This photo shows a regular cigar and a cheroot. Good cheroots are fire cured, packed with flavor, and can last years without humidification. And they're stiff enough to take some hard jostling and crushing, so they were perfect for the frontier. Here, let's light up.
Thank you, sir.
We'll talk about how these cheroots taste and smoke in a bit, but now, do you want to tell us about our historical figure, Professor Aldo?
Sure. If you've seen Alejandro Inarritu's 2015 movie Revenant, you may recall that Hugh Glass was a famed trapper, hunter, and explorer. But he wasn't always a frontiersman. In fact, by age 37, he had spent 3/4 of his life at sea, rising to the station of first mate, second in command behind the captain.
Sorry to interrupt, but can't we find more dramatic music than this?
Anyway, life was sweet for Hugh Glass, until one fateful day in May 1817, when he spots another ship locking up with his, and it's flying the Jolly Roger.
Pirates?
Right, they're French privateers sailing under a letter of marque from Venezuela. Glass is somewhat concerned by this alarming turn of events, and it's even worse than appears, because the most skilled swordsman of all the pirates is about to board Glass's ship. Tully is adroit and kind of nasty, and he gives captured merchantmen no quarter. But Hugh Glass has other ideas, and he somehow manages to drop his more skilled opponent.
Nicely done, Mr. Glass. Now, if it were me, I'd have a cigar at this point to celebrate my victory.
Sure, and in that instant, another pirate shoots him in the head.
Wait, what?
Another pirate shot Glass in the head.
But that can't be the end of the story.
No, the ball bounced off his skull, and when he came to 3 days later, all ripe and crusty and nursing the mother of all headaches, the pirates gave him two options. First, he could walk the plank, and we're not talking about a metaphor here. They had actually tacked up a wooden board on the gunwale and were chumming for sharks. But since Glass had left the pirates short-handed, they also gave him the option of joining their criminal enterprise as a pirate.
He was caught between the devil and the deep blue sea?
Yeah, we'll go with that. And apparently Glass preferred the company of the devil to a principled death. On that spring day in 1817, Hugh Glass chose the dark side. Ain't right. That's I can't believe I'm the one being judged here. I'm being judged. Shit.
All right, then. This seems like a good place to pause the history lesson, and talk about these cheroots. This brand is Kentucky Cheroots, and the flavor surrenders kind of over to an earthy, heavy flavor. It's not exactly the way it smells, with that good fire-cured smell that whets your appetite. It's a broadleaf tobacco, and they hang it up in barns and then burn different kinds of smokes and woods underneath them, and it infuses and imparts that smoky flavor to the cigar. We've been smoking these ones for about 10 minutes. My initial impression is medium body of smoke, and they smoke relatively slow. So it looks like we're off to a good start with the Kentucky Cheroots.
I'm pleasantly surprised by this. It's not at all what I expected. I can taste that smoky flavor. It's nice.
Yeah. Getting back to Hugh Glass, I believe you were last saying he became a pirate.
Yes, thank you. Hugh Glass joined the pirate fleet of the Frenchman Jean Lafitte, and for the next 2 years he did piratey things. Now, one of the valuable benefits of working for French pirates is that Hugh Glass learned a whole new language.
Kind of like a semester studying abroad.
Kind of like that, but more piratey and a lot longer. But one day, Hugh Glass refused to ravage an elderly woman that the pirates had captured, and then he also refused to execute 2 priests. So he was scheduled to be tried by Lafitte and then hanged. But the day before he was to be hanged, Hugh Glass and a shipmate of his jumped ship and swam ashore. They planned to trek over 1,000 miles of wilderness from what is now Galveston to St. Louis through the lands of hostile Native American tribes. But no sooner had they escaped their pirate captors than they got themselves captured again, this time by a Pawnee war party. The warriors dragged Glass behind their horses for 2 days. This is fine. I don't think so. At the Pawnee village, the pair is unbound, cleaned, and fed. They find themselves treated like honored guests. Life is good. Right up until the moment Glass's shipmate is sacrificed. That's so messed up.
That is a little messed up. Did they kill Glass too?
Not yet. But before we get into that, I'm a little parched. Do you happen to have anything to drink?
Let me check the props table over here. I have a 5th of Old Tub.
How did you come to choose Old Tub?
Well, Old Tub is a bourbon recipe that was first made contemporaneous with the times of Hugh Glass. Hugh Glass very well might have drinking some Old Tub.
Drinking?
Drinking. Yeah. So maybe we should...
Drinking it.
Drinking it, yes, sir. Oh, wow. Did you hear that pop? Let's see what the Old Tub tastes like. There we go.
That's good.
The Old Tub is good.
I like it. The Pawnee delayed Glass's execution until the following month and resumed treating him like an honored guest. Thankfully, before the month ends, he gets inside help from a Lakota woman, Little Feather. The Pawnee had captured Little Feather years before. She speaks the Pawnee tongue, though Glass can't understand a word, but his pirate French now serves him well. Turns out Little Feather had been married to a Frenchman. Parlez-vous français? Oui. Arg. Quel? Désolé. Arg. So the two of them secretly plot to convince the chief that Glass is the chief's reincarnated son.
Seriously? That's their plan?
What? It could work. That was it. And against all odds, it did work. Glass even marries his newfound love, Little Feather. Over the next 4 years, Glass learns to track, trap, hunt, fight, and survive in the wilderness. And as the crowning achievement of his latest incarnation, Glass is anointed Tappe, or White Grizzly, after tracking and killing his namesake.
Tappe? Very cool. Seems like things are finally looking up for old Hugh.
They were, right up until Little Feather got washed away in a flash flood.
You gotta be kidding.
Life had indeed been good for a while. White Grizzly and Little Feather were happy together, and he had fully assimilated into the Pawnee way of life. And after 4 years with the tribe, Glass had gained respect and even a measure of fame as a warrior and hunter. But now that Little Feather is gone, remaining among these people is too painful. So Glass travels to St. Louis, where he re-enters Eurocentric society. Hugh Glass is not sure what to do with himself. But then he stumbles across a newly posted job announcement. Lieutenant Governor William Henry Ashley, General of the Missouri Militia, seeks sturdy types for wilderness expedition into the Rocky Mountains. Salary $200 per annum. Must be expert tracker, trapper, hunter, horseman, and wilderness survivalist. Boat handling skills and experience with indigenous peoples considered a plus. What are indigenous peoples? Dang, I'm really close on this one. And that's how Hugh Glass, merchant seaman, prisoner, pirate, prisoner again, and honorary Pawnee warrior, became a frontiersman. His expedition starts on March 7, 1823, and Glass feels right at home. It's just a walk in the park. Then, just 2 months into the adventure, Glass hears his Pawnee name shouted from within the tree line. Yo, Takakurix, what up? He figures it must be his old pals. Hey, fellas, smoke? Oh, not again. It wasn't the Pawnee, but a party of Arakawa warriors, sworn enemies of the Pawnee. They knew White Grizzly well, and now had him pinned down on the banks of a surging river. But Glass grabbed an injured comrade, leapt into the river, and somehow swam to one of his party's keel boats, dragging the other man with him.
So he survived getting shot a second time.
Yes, Glass rested a couple months and then self-medicated with herbs the Pawnee had shown him.
I have some friends who self-medicate with herbs.
Oh, I suspect that's a different type of herb.
Well, speaking of herbs, Aldo, have you noticed any changes in flavor in Cheroot?
I don't taste as much smokiness as I did at the beginning. It's fairly mild, but it really has a good flavor, much more than I had expected.
I think the broadleaf gives it the flavors that predominate. And then the smoking and fire cure is almost like a condiment on top of it. It's like a nuance. This is going to give you something similar in experience to a conventional cigar in a lot of ways, despite the way it looks. Okay, so last we heard, Glass was recuperating from getting shot again.
In August 1823, 3 months following his most recent shooting, Glass returns to the expedition. A few days later, he finds himself chilling in the woods. He hears something. Recognizing the sound of a bear, he spins around and shoots it. But his shot has just stunned the bear, which is now really torqued, so Glass decides to fight the grizzly. Mano up, bear up.
Sounds like his mano a barrow strategy didn't work so well.
Not really. Hugh Glass's right buttock was completely torn away, his right leg and left arm were fractured, his scalp was ripped half off, and his back, face, and throat were slashed open.
Holy shit, that was brutal. Well, here's to Glass. He died with his boots on.
Sorry, he didn't die.
What?
But even though Glass's party patches him up as best they can, they know he will die soon, so they wait. But the group is in a precarious position, being in the middle of hostile Arikara territory. So when morning comes and they see that Glass is still breathing, the group's leader gives 2 members of the party $70 each to stay with him until he expires, and the rest of the group leaves. After 5 more days pass, Glass is just barely hanging on. So his 2 companions take his weapons and other belongings and abandon him, alone, gravely injured, unconscious, and 250 miles from the nearest fort.
That's harsh. Well, here's to Hugh.
He didn't die yet.
No. He didn't bleed out or die from septic shock or starve?
This is Hugh Glass we're talking about, Takakurix. This man's life can't be snuffed out that easily. Despite all the life-threatening problems you listed, as well as apex predators and the Arakawa, he regained consciousness and somehow dragged himself, crawled, floated, and limped through indescribable agony the whole 250 miles to Fort Kiowa, surviving on berries, bugs, snakes, and buffalo carrion, anything that came within arm's length. and he persevered to become a living legend. If you want a more detailed account of the bear attack and Hugh Glass's miraculous escape, I highly recommend the movie Revenant. With Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Hardy, it won 3 Academy Awards, including Best Actor for DiCaprio. Anyway, that wraps up my account of Hugh Glass, the legend. May his soul rest in peace.
Mind-blowing. Are you sure he's dead now?
Yeah, for nearly 200 years.
Well, here's to Hugh Glass, son of Scotland and an American legend. Speaking of wrapping up, it's also time to wrap up our review of the Cheroot. That we've now smoked this for 1 hour. Pretty much exactly 1 hour. That's how much we have left. Another thing that we haven't mentioned yet is it doesn't need to be humidified. It's fire cured and dry cured. The wrapper also acts as a binder. So these things you can literally leave them in your car, let them get dried out, and they smoke just fine. This is a good American, Kentucky, Tennessee area broadleaf. So what do you think, Aldo?
I've got to tell you, I have changed my opinion. These are great, and they defy the law of physics. Something that thin has lasted an hour, and we're still not quite down to the nub. I'm going to be buying a box of these.
All right. Well, Professor Aldo, thank you for your history lesson, which complemented the cigar review nicely. If I ever think about complaining again, how tough things are, I'll just remember old Hugh Glass.
Maybe have a cheroot and a glass of Old Tub in his honor.
And maybe have a cheroot and some Old Tub whiskey in his honor.